In today's class, we have a discussion on the etiquette of email. That is nothing but I would like to give some guidelines how to write an email effectively. Let us discuss what are the two different types of emails. So similarly, like a letter, in emails also we have two types. They are formal emails, informal emails. What is the difference between formal emails and informal emails? The emails you are sending for companies, government departments, or offices. If you are communicating with the companies, government department, or the offices for any formal purpose or the official purpose, those kind of mails we call them as formal mails. But if you are trying to send a formal mail, what are the precautions we're supposed to take? Make sure that the language which you are using in the formal mail should be a formal language. You should not use any kind of an informal language while you are composing an email. And one more important thing, when you are going to have a formal communication between the two channels, make sure that when you are preparing an email ID, don't create an email ID by using your nicknames for formal purpose. On the other side, informal mails. What does it mean by an informal mail? In the recent time, even if you are very far to your family members, you are going to communicate with your family members, relatives or friends by using the mails. But as they are your own people, you need not to communicate formally and officially with them. So you can use an informal language with them. Okay. Even you can also create an email ID by using your pet names, because that email ID is only for your personal purpose to communicate with your relatives and family members. But if you would like to communicate for official purposes, or else if you would like to communicate with a teacher, principal in the academic scenario, or else in future in the corporate sector, if you would like to communicate with the concerned authorities, you have to create an email ID, a standard email ID for official purpose by using your original name. And make sure that when you're going to have a formal communication with them, you need to use formal language rather than informal language. Now, let us see the structure of the email. My dear students, what is the structure of the email? First, by using our email ID, we need to log in into the mail. So after logging into the mail, we'll have a dialog box like this. Inbox will be there, starred emails will be there. So many options will come in the left side of the box. And after that, if I would like to compose an email, then there is an option with the plus symbol, compose. I have to click on that option, compose, and I need to draft an email to the concerned person. So after click on to the compose, what are the elements would be visible in the dialog box actually? First one, to address. To address is nothing but where you need to mention the email ID of the recipient. What is the meaning of the recipient, my dear students? Recipient is nothing but the receiver of the mail. So in the to address, we have to mention the receiver's email ID, whom we consider as a primary recipient or a primary receiver. So why did I mention that as a primary receiver? Because if you would like to send the same mail to the number of other people, if you would like to send the same email to the other people also, you can mention those email IDs under the second column or the second row, that is nothing but CC. Can anyone tell me what does it mean by CC, which I have already given there? CC stands for carbon copy. What is the meaning of a carbon copy? A duplicate. Carbon copy is nothing but it's a duplicate copy. So if you would like to send the same email to the number of other people, you can type or mention the email IDs of those members under carbon copy. So CC stands for carbon copy. And BCC, the next row is nothing but BCC. What does it mean by BCC, my dear? BCC stands for blind carbon copy. BCC stands for blind carbon copy. But what does it mean by BCC? What is the purpose of that? What does it mean by BCC? If you would like to send the same email secretly to some other concerned authorities, but whereas the recipients who are there in to address, the recipients who are there in CC, they should not aware of it. Only the receiver will aware of it. Only the sender will aware of it. But the recipients of to address, the recipients of CC, they should not aware of it. And if I have such a kind of a purpose, I need to mention the email ID of that person under BCC. That is the purpose of BCC in the structure of an email. And the next element is subject line. See, in composing an email, subject plays a very significant role, my dear students. Because the reason is nothing but if you log in into the mail, only subject lines will be highlighted in the inbox. Have you ever observed that? What's the purpose of the subject line in an email? Subject line is nothing but it is a topic line of an email. I could say that as we have already discussed the paragraph writing and essay writing, it might be the central idea of the email. As how we discussed about the paragraph writing and essay writing, in email writing, subject line is the central idea of the email. So whatever the purpose of the mail, whatever the reason you are writing that or composing that mail, that purpose or the reason you have to mention that in the form of a subject line. So based on the subject line, the receiver will decide whether shall we proceed for a reading, or if it is not important, the receiver will delete it or ignore it. That is the purpose of a subject line. Now we will move on to the body of the mail. So what is the body of the mail we have? The body of the mail, my dear students, it is going to start with a salutation. What does it mean by salutation? The polite way of addressing the receiver, the polite way of addressing the receiver, that we call it as a salutation. And after the salutation, that is nothing but sir, dear Rahul, dear Mr. Ravi. We call these expressions as salutations. So we have to use an appropriate expression based on our situation, okay, in the body of the mail. Second one, in the body of the mail. What is the second element in the body of the mail? Greetings. So you need to greet the receiver by saying that greetings, or else by addressing that good morning, good afternoon. So in any way, in a very polite manner, you need to address the receiver. Then based on the purpose of the mail, you need to compose the body of the email. You need to draft the body of the email. How to draft the body of the email? In the next slide, we will discuss on that. You need not to worry about it. Fourth one is a courteous leave taking. What does it mean by courteous leave taking? That is also known as subscription. The courteous leave taking, that is also known as subscription. What does it mean by subscription, my dear? The polite way of closing an email. The polite way of closing an email is called subscription. So what is the difference between salutation and subscription, my dear students? The polite way of addressing the receiver is called salutation. The polite way of closing an email or a letter, we call it as subscription. Is it clear? Shall I move on to the next? Contact details. So our subscriptions are nothing but examples. With regards, yours sincerely. These are the polite ways of closing an email or a letter. And these expressions, we call them as subscriptions. Okay, use an appropriate subscription to close the email in a very polite manner. So after the subscription, what we're supposed to do? We have to provide our contact details, your name, and if you are working in any organization, your designation and the name of the company, all the details you need to provide. Or else you are a student actually, you are composing a mail to the teacher, you need to mention your name, your roll number, section, branch, all the details you have to mention under contact details. So based on the purpose, we need to provide the contact details to the receiver. Generally, if it is possible, some people, they will provide the contact number also under the contact details while they're composing the email. Okay. Then in the dialog box, we have one small box in the bottom. What is the small box in the bottom we have? There are different options we have. The first option is font. Number of fonts will be there. Whatever the font you are quite suitable with, you can go ahead with that. You can change the fonts also while you are composing the mail. If you would like to change the font size, you can change it. Okay, 3 font sizes you may have. I think a small, medium and large. So whatever the font size is required to compose a mail, you can change the font size also. Or if you feel that there is an important point in body of the email, you can highlight the important point with B. B stands for bold. You can make the content bold also to highlight some important points. I stands for italics. U stands for, if you would like to underline any point, actually, you can underline that. U stands for underline. And A stands for, you'll have different colors also. Here also I have given different colors, now red colors, green color. For every sentence I have given different colors. You can also change of the font color if it is required. But for a formal mail, better not to use different colors in your writing. Okay, make it in black color for a formal mail. So changing into different colors, it is not good. Or if you would like to highlight any important point in the formal mail, better either you can italicize that, or else you can bold it, or else you can underline that. But instead, using different colors of the font, which is not good, which is not official in formal communication. We'll have a brief discussion one by one, each element of the email. So while you're composing the email, date is automated. Automatically date will be generated. You need not to type it. And from address, as you know that you are going to log in into the mail by using your email ID. So that is the reason there is no need of typing the from address again once if you have login into the mail. So from address is also not required once if you have login into the mail. But where you need to mention the to address, actually, I have already explained what is the difference between CC and BCC also. To address is nothing but primary receiver, the main receiver of the email. And CC stands for, if you would like to send the same copy to the other people of the same organization as a Xerox copy, I could say that. We could consider CC as a Xerox copy. If you would like to send the email as a copy to them, you can mention those email IDs under CC. CC stands for carbon copy. BCC stands for blind carbon copy. That means if you would like to send the same email secretly to the higher authority, where the recipients who are there in to address and CC, they should not aware of it, their email IDs you have to mention under BCC. Okay, so I have already explained all these things. Next one, writing the subject line. How to write the subject line? I have already told that subject line is very important while you're composing the mail. Okay, because it highlights the title line, it is a topic line where you are going to highlight the purpose of writing an email. Make sure that what are the points we have to remember while you are composing the subject line. It must be very brief and short. It is eye-catching to the reader. Because by seeing the subject line, it creates some kind of an interest in the mind of the reader to open the mail and read the content. So that is the way you need to compose the subject line. But make sure that generally a subject line will not be a complete sentence. In most of the cases, the subject line will be a phrase. It might be a phrase, that's it, which consists of maximum 8 to 10 words, right? So one of the important qualities of writing a subject line in email, it must be very short and brief. It must be eye-catching to the reader. Okay, I have given some sample examples of subject line for different situations. What is the first situation I have given there? For example, you are a team leader and you are planning to conduct a meeting to the team members. So whatever the purpose of the mail, you are composing an email. that purpose, whatever the word is addressing that purpose, with that word you are going to start the subject line. For example, for the first situation, what is my purpose? Conducting a meeting to the team members. So with that only, I have started the subject line. Meeting with the team leader. On what time I am going to have a meeting? The members are going to have a meeting at 10:30 a.m. When they are going to have a meeting, today or tomorrow? Today. So by reading the subject line, the team members will have a clarity. We have a meeting with the team leader at 10:30 today. Is that clear? So while you are composing the subject line, whatever the purpose you are drafting the mail, the word which is addressing that purpose, by using that word, you have to start the subject line. So what is the second one? Second one, you are a fresher, you are applying for a company as a software engineer. So you are applying. Applying is a keyword there. So I'm going to start with that keyword, applying for the position of the software engineer or a system analyst. Third situation. What is the third situation I have given? You are a team leader. You would like to know the status of the work on a project by the team members. Then I just want to inquire that. So what is the keyword I have used there to start the subject line? Inquire about the status of the work on the project. Subject line is very, very important while you are composing the mail. So whatever the guidelines I have given to draft a subject line, follow these guidelines while you are drafting the subject line. It must be very short and brief, which consists of maximum 8 to 10 words. The subject line must highlight the purpose of drafting the email. Generally, the subject line is going to start with the keyword. Okay. Next one, formal phrases for salutation. So what are the different phrases we can use for salutation actually? What does it mean by salutation? Dear students, what does it mean by salutation? The polite way of addressing the receiver, we call it as a salutation. For example, we can use sir, ma'am, dear ma'am. But make sure that after the salutation, we have to use comma. But if you know the name of the person actually, then we can drop the salutation like this. Dear Mr. Rahul, dear Miss Sita. If that person is a married person, you can use dear Mrs. Swati. Or semi-formal. It's not too formal, too informal. In such a kind of a situation, how to write the salutation? So by using their names, dear Rahul, dear Sita, dear Swati. So these are the different ways of addressing the receiver. And informal expressions. Directly you can say that by name, Rahul, Sita or whatever. Or else by saying or addressing, by greeting, hi, hello, hello Rahul. Okay. So these are the informal expressions we can make use of while you're addressing the receiver. And greetings also, I have already told that you need to greet the people by saying that greetings and best wishes. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, greetings of the day. But make sure that even after greetings also there must be a comma. After salutation there must be a comma. After greetings also there must be a comma. Okay. Now, how to write the body of the email? See, in the process of composing the body of the email, okay, if it is a direct mail, you are sending a mail directly to somebody. So what are the elements we have to include in the body of the email? The first one, highlight the purpose or the reason of the mail. So what are the elements we have to include in the body of the email, my dear students? The first element, highlight the purpose or the reason of the mail. Second element, so what you're expecting from the receiver by composing the mail. What are you expecting from the receiver by composing this mail? That has to be highlighted in the next lines. And what is the third one? Closing remarks of the email. Finally, you can offer the thanks. Let us take one example how to write it. See, you bought something actually. In an online, you bought a product actually, but unfortunately, after opening that, there is a damage to the product. Then you are going to give a complaint to the online authorities, the concerned authorities. How you are going to draft the complaint? Let us see that now. How you are going to draft the complaint? Let us see that now. How to draft the body of the email? First, we have to highlight the purpose of writing the email. So on what purpose you are writing the email, how you are going to start it, observe carefully. I am writing this mail to complain you about the damaged product which I received on yesterday, that is on 1/2/2021 or else 31/1/2021, whatever it is. Okay. See, observe carefully. How did I start the email? If it is a complaint mail, what is the first element I have to include? I have to highlight the purpose of drafting the mail. How did I highlight the purpose of drafting the mail? In what way I have started? By using an expression like, I am writing this mail to complain you about the damaged product which I received, because they are selling the products to many people actually. So it would be helpful to them if you are going to mention the date and time also. If you want to be more specific, you can also mention the time of receiving the product. For example, on so-and-so date, so-and-so time, I have received the product, but unfortunately it was a damaged one. If you want to give the more specific details to the receiver, you can also include the time in the purpose lines. So first, in the body of the email, you need to highlight the purpose of writing this mail. Second element, what should I highlight? Yeah, what you are expecting from the receiver. What are you expecting from the receiver, my dear students? Two things you can expect for a damaged product. Either you can expect them to send a new one, or else you can ask them to redeem the money. Any one of them you are going to ask. That is what I have mentioned here. Observe carefully. Exactly, action required from the receiver. I request either you replace the product or redeem my money to my account as soon as possible. Okay. Next one, closing remarks. How I am going to close the email in a very polite manner? I am looking forward for an immediate action. Closing remarks are, I am looking forward for an immediate action. Finally, what is the fourth element I have to include in the body of the email? Thank you very much. Now, whatever the sentences I have given here in different elements, let us make it into one single paragraph, which becomes the body of the email. What is the body of the email now? I am writing this email to complain you about the damaged product which I received on yesterday, that is on 1/2/2021. I request either you replace the product or redeem my money to my account as soon as possible. I am looking forward for an immediate action. Thank you very much. Is that clear how to draft the body of the email, my dear students? Shall I move on to the next one now? Shall I move on to that? ఇప్పుడు direct mail గురించి చెప్పా. For example, you got a mail from somebody. You are trying to give a reply to them. How to send a reply mail? How to draft the body of the reply mail? Shall we see that once? How to draft the body of the reply mail? Shall we see that once? Yes. Let us see that. What are the elements in the reply mail? Let us see that. First element, you need to mention the reference of the mail. Reference of the mail ante enti? What does it mean by reference of the mail? When did you receive the mail? On what time you have received the mail? You need to refer that in the body of the email. That is the first step you have to do in the body of the email for a reply. First, you need to mention, include the reference details of the mail which you have received. You have to include the reference details of the mail which you have received. What are the reference details you have to mention? When did you receive that mail? On what time you have received that mail? You need to mention that, because the reader can understand, okay, he is having a reply to the mail which I have forwarded to him yesterday. That clarity the receiver will have if you are going to mention the reference details. Is that clear? That is the first element we have to do in the reply mail. Second element, The remaining elements would be the same, like a direct mail. First, you have to mention the purpose of the mail. Second, what kind of an action you're expecting from the receiver. Next, closing remarks. Finally, offering the thanks. Let us see how to draft a reply mail. Each element, let us see once. Observe carefully how to give the reference. What is the expression I have used to start the email, please? With reference to. So this is a starting expression I am using to start the email. With reference to the mail. When did I receive that mail? I have received that mail on 31st/1/2021. I am mentioning the date. If you want to be more specific, you can also mention the time. Okay, with reference to the mail dated on 31st/1/2021 at 10:30 p.m. If you want to be more specific to the receiver, you can also mention the time. What is the second element? Highlighting the purpose of the mail. What is the purpose of the mail I am highlighting here? I am writing this mail in connection with the reason for the delay of my project. For example, team leader might have sent a mail to you. Why did you delay the project? What is the reason for delaying the project? Now you are going to give a reply to the team leader. In what way you are giving a reply to the team leader? I am writing this mail in connection with the reason for the delay of the project. I am unable to submit the project on time due to my ill health. So I'm giving a reason over there. I'm giving a reason why I was unable to submit the project on the given time. What is the third element? What you're expecting from the receiver. So what you're expecting from the receiver, hence, I request you to give me some more time to complete it. So you are requesting the receiver to extend the time to submit the project. Next one, closing remarks. I am looking forward for a positive reply. I am looking forward for a positive reply. And finally, offering the thanks. Thank you very much for your esteemed support. So this is the way you need to give the reply mail. Observe carefully, it becomes the body of the reply mail. With reference to the mail dated on 31st/1/2021, I am writing this mail in connection with the reason for the delay of my project. I am unable to submit it on time due to my ill health. Hence, I request you to give me some more time to complete it. I am looking forward for a positive reply. And thank you very much for your esteemed support. See here, I have given different phrases actually. These phrases which will helpful to you to compose the mail. You can make use of all these expressions while you are composing the mail. Okay, I have given some expressions on complaining. I have given some expressions on apologizing. That means if you have done any mistake, you make an apology to somebody. So what are the expressions we can make use of formally to apologize somebody in a very polite manner? I have given some expressions over there. And if you want to make the request, if you want to attach something to the mail, please find the attached file you requested to this mail. Okay, closing comments. I look forward to hear you. I'm looking forward for a positive reply. So these are the closing remarks we can do. Okay, finally, subscription. So what kind of subscription we can make use of? Regards, with regards, yours faithfully, sincerely. Subscription is nothing but the polite way of closing the mail.